Hi, this is Dr. Roper. We're going to talk a little bit today about the Assessment Plan tab. So again, if you look at your main screen, you can go to the Provider tab right here, or you can also get to it over here if it's been opened before on your History tab. So I'm going to close this History part so that we can see the full screen here. And remembering again that you can toggle all these open, or you can toggle all of them closed either way by looking at the different panels. But again, we're just going to go to the assessment plan and open that. So again, this just looks a little bit different. That's the hardest part about this, is that it just looks a little bit different than what we've been used to. If you wanted to start a new impression plan, we're going to do add update. And what I'm going to do is do it two different ways. I'm going to use one diagnosis that's already in the system, and then I'm going to go through it again and use one diagnosis that's not in the system. So we press the Add Update button. It comes up, and the clinical problems are the problems that are existing with the patient. They've been like a chronic problem or our tract problems, and you can just show the chronic ones if you want, and I'll show you how to put those into the chronic list, or you can do ones that are just my tract problems. But for now, we're just going to leave all of them together. So we're going to start by choosing the cataract, the first one that's on there. When we do that, the goal is to get from clinical problems down to today's assessments. We've got to get everything into what is the problem with the patient today. So when we highlight cataract right here, we're going to click Add to Today's Assessment, and you'll see it populates down below there. There's only one diagnosis in today's assessment. If you had multiple diagnoses, you would see them as 2, 3, 4, etc. If you ever do want to remove one from today's assessments, you can highlight it and click the Remove button over here, and it will automatically take it out of today's assessments, not out of the clinical problems. So if you mess up and accidentally do one, it's easy to remove. You can also sort them differently here. But we've got our cataract into today's assessment. And when you click on that, it automatically brings it down into your assessment plan, or into your impression. So from there, you can easily choose again which side. Do they have cataracts, right eye, left eye, both eyes, whatever. You can change how much you want in the condition, whether it's been there for a while, any symptoms that you may want to do, and so on as you go across. And as you do add those things, it will show up in the impression detail. Now there is a place down here of My Phrases. I personally don't use the My Phrases in the impression portion, but you can add different phrases that would automatically populate the impression detail for you. So if you wanted to specifically have all these same things all the time, or say that it's visually significant, you can always go to the My Phrases and it will automatically populate that particular place. So after you've got your impression, now we just need to choose what plan we're going to do. And there's a few different ways. Again, if you click right here under the quick plan, that brings up that same list of the different quick plans that we're so used to having. That's one way. If you like what it says there, you can choose that. You can also do the pop-up where it brings up different checkboxes that you can choose whatever you want to do, and you can also freehand down in the plan summary. So if you don't like what's in the quick plan, you can choose your own through there. So for instance, on the plan detail, you can say you discussed it with the patient, we discussed the treatment options, we'll either continue to observe it, or you can choose to do other things that you have on here. If you're prescribing new medications, that's all over here, so you can say that you gave them new stuff. Or, as I stated, you can actually click down below here in the plan summary and you can type schedule surgery or something, whatever you want to put in there. That's very easy to do. In this same one, you can also kind of kill two birds with one stone and do your return to clinic plan if you want to do that. So you can say come back in 1 year, and the physician names will be in there when we actually go live, and what you want them to come back for if they want to come back for a cataract consult again in 1 year. You have options of choosing more than one of these, and that's why the pop-up doesn't go away when you click one of those. But if you don't want any more, you can just hit the close button, and when you save it, it will automatically populate that down into your plan and the return to clinic, as you saw there. And one other way to do that is through the My Phrases. Again, I always try to use either the quick plan or the plan details because there's a lot of great detailed things in there. The My Phrases, again, you can do your own. I usually use mine just for my refractive things, but you can choose those, and it would automatically put those in there too. And once again, we just work our way down. After the plan, we just go over here to the right. You see the Add to Grid button, and you can automatically add it to the grid. Now, we discussed this in our last video that you have the options of the previous or today. If today is clicked, that will bring up all the problems from today. If we bring up the previous ones, it will bring up previous ones. So if they've had cataracts in the past and you want to do pretty much the same thing, you can bring up the previous. You can click on that, and it automatically populates up here. If there's any changes, you can still type any changes that you want, and it will automatically add that to the new impression plan. But you need to make sure once you make any of those changes and when you put it up here in the plan, you've got to go and press the Add to Grid again so that it brings it down and populates your grid. And last of all, you do have some physician internal notes. Again, these do not print on the chart. You have the option of making your own phrases. For instance, if you had a certain thing that you want to just make sure and pass on to other doctors or to you, you can add it to your own phrases, or you can just freehand type through that. And last of all, down at the bottom, you see your Save and Close button. You've got to make sure and save it, or else it will not save it in the program. If you press Cancel, it clears everything you've done through there. So if we hit Save and Close, it will automatically put it, and you'll see your, hang on, let me get back to that particular assessment plan, and you can see all the diagnoses that we put in there for today's visits. If you had more than one diagnosis, you can either go back in or you can do it all at once. So you just cycle. You just start at the top, cycle down, and it will add all those diagnoses in. When you press Save and Close, that does the final saving and closing. Now, we've talked a little bit about SNOMED, and the actual word for the actual term is called SNOMED CT, and it stands for Systematized Nomenclature of Medicine Clinical Terminology. And what it really is it provides for standardized terminology. It takes all the terms that we use, for instance, with a cataract. We can call it a nuclear sclerosis, we can call it brunescence, we can call it posterior subcapsular cataract, all these different terms that we may have, and it maps it into one certain term so that it's easy to understand, and it also will communicate with other systems. To do that mapping, what you would do is up here at the top, you'll see it has an exclamation mark with mapping required in red. All you have to do is click on the mapping, and you'll see it brings up our description of cataract nuclear sclerosis, which we put in there. Has another one there we don't need to worry about, but down below are the SNOMED clinical descriptions that we have. To map it, all you would do is click that one and click the one in the SNOMED one, and when you say Map to Existing Problem, it automatically brings them together. And it's asking, what do you want to map here? So we can say we can just call it as a cataract, click OK, and you can see it put the cataract from up above down into the clinical problems in a SNOMED description instead of our ICD-9 description. So it makes it easier for us to communicate one with another about just having a cataract. More information will be coming about this SNOMED mapping, and we'll probably talk about it at the provider meeting. Now I want to go back and do an assessment plan for something that wasn't automatically in our clinical problems. So again, if we're at the provider tab, we click on our assessment plan, and we need to add or update a diagnosis. So we click the Add Update button. It brings up that same screen where we were before, but because we don't see diabetes up here in our clinical problems, we need to add that. So we go down to the Add button right here because we're trying to get it into today's assessments. We're going to click Add, and we have a few different ways to look it up. Again, if it's in their billing diagnosis from the past, you can choose that. If it's a clinical problem that they've had also, you can do that. And you have My Favorites. But I'm going to show you these little buttons down here again. Adding a common assessment is kind of like having a care slip in front of you, where it brings up most of the ones that we would use. You can see if there's macula, diabetes, retinal, these are the categories. If I click on diabetes, it brings up even more categories that I can look at and choose to come up with the correct diagnoses. If I wanted specifically 250.50, then I can click on that, and it automatically brings it down into today's assessments. If I don't want that one, I can go and highlight it and remove it, and it automatically will take it out of there. So we don't have to keep popping back and forth between screens. So that is one way that we can look them up. Closing that and looking at the diagnosis lookup code, this brings up the one that we're normally used to. Again, if I just type in 250.0, it will bring up all the ones that begin with that particular beginning of numbers. Or if I want to type in diabetes and hit enter, it will automatically bring up all the ones that start with diabetes. So you can see there's many ways that you can look up there. I don't know if any of you know about the favorites that are over here, but I have created a certain amount of favorites. And again, these folders, I've named them myself. If you want to add a new folder, you can do this one, and you can call it whatever you want. Say if we want to do macula, if you want it to be that categorized. If I then look up macula, and we search for it, so if you type in macula, it's looking for anything with macula under that folder. You can't, since there's nothing in that folder, since we just created it, you need to go back up to all diagnoses, and then it will bring up all the different macular problems that you have. So if you have a macular cyst, I can highlight it and actually press my left mouse button and hold it and drag it over here, and you'll see that as I put it on macula, it automatically allows me to add it into the macula. So now when I click on it, that one appeared in my macular folder. So you always have to make sure and go back up to the all diagnoses before you type any of the search things. And again, you can add as many of these as you want, and to quickly go to them, let's say I just want to look up the ones that I have that are pertaining to diabetes. Again, these are a little bit in the wrong order there, but they should automatically be in there once we go live. And the last way is you've got my favorites. Again, I've put a number of my different favorites in there that I like, which diabetes is one of them because I see a lot of diabetics. So I can choose that particular one. And after I choose any of those, I'm going to press the Add Update, and it's going to, again, add it to today's assessments. And there you see it appear down here. Again, if you want to highlight them and remove them, you can do that very easily. Once you're done adding all the things that you want, again, you're going to press your Save Close button, and it automatically brings it up to today's assessments. We're then going to do the same thing as we did before, where we click it and highlight it, automatically brings it down to our impression. We're then going to move down to the plan, and we can do a quick plan for diabetes, and it automatically is going to put that in. We can do a return to clinic for 1 year to see me for a diabetic evaluation, and it will automatically put that in. And then we're going to, again, add it to the grid to bring it down to our impression plan. And you should see it populate right there. After you're done, again, you've got to make sure and press Save and Close. And when we go back to our assessment plan, you'll see all the different ones. We've got the cataracts we put in, and then the diabetes we put in there too. So last of all, after we've done all of our assessments and plans, then we just need to scroll down. We go down to the Generate Note. And remember, we need to do that. And when you click that, you can say, just generate a chart note. And again, the IT department is working on making it to be able to generate offline so that we don't have to wait for that. And then once you're done with the chart note, then you will go ahead and generate the patient plan just by clicking the button. And there you see the patient chart note is done. We're going to save it, and we're going to go down again. And last of all, you just need to do the patient plan by clicking the button. It automatically generates the patient plan. And there's your patient plan. Again, familiarize yourself with this. Don't worry too much about it. It is amazingly easy once you get into it, and just kind of familiarize yourself with the different panels and the different screens. And good luck as we go live in the next couple weeks.